And we are live. What's going on, crypto warriors? Welcome back to the Gentlemen of Crypto. And today, of course, is still Thursday. We had a show today, Thursday, December, or excuse me, I said December. This is crazy. February 17, 2022. I said I like to say the date at the top of most of these streams so we know what's going on. We're going to get right to it. As mentioned on today's show, we do have a very special AMA. We have one of the co-founders and co-developers of Scarab.Finance, Scarab.Finance here with us today. We're going to be talking about algorithmic DeFi and everything they have going on their platform. So without further ado, welcome Bernardo to the channel. Hey, what's going on, Bernardo?
Hey man, how are you?
Good. How about yourself? How you doing today?
I'm doing great. Can't wait. I'm excited. I was excited for this.
I am too. As I previously mentioned, as I was getting a live stream set up, it was funny today. We always joke with people when we do sponsor reviews and everything. We're still telling our people, we're like, hey, take a peek at them. Just because they're sponsored or anything doesn't mean they're not a legit project or they have things going on. So when we mentioned you all today, one of our crypto warriors who actually always sees a lot of projects before they come, he was like, oh yeah, all right, I've been telling you about that one for months already. I was like, oh, here we go then. So this is a perfect collaboration right here. It's a win for everybody. So first and foremost, I have to ask, how did you get in Bitcoin and cryptocurrency? How long have you been in? Give us the quick origin roots of your story.
Okay, so it's pretty funny. I've never even owned any Bitcoin in my life. I started like 2 years ago, 1.5 to 2 years ago. I got into crypto. I became pretty hooked because I started with like $80, and got pretty lucky. Managed to turn that in like $1,600 after a month. So I was like I got really lucky. A friends of mine project that skyrocketed a little bit, and I made a little bit of money. And I was really happy. I started working a lot more on it. I already coded. I've been developing for 4 or 5 years now. And yeah, I already knew how to code, and I really started really getting into DeFi. I started on the Binance Smart Chain. That's my origin route. I had a little bit of BNB and then started looking into DeFi there. And then, I just got so in love with it, and started developing it, that I now it's practically all I do nowadays. But
Well,
yeah, DeFi hooked me. It's the yields and the cool investments you can do. And it's a perfect mix of business and coding at the same time. So it's something I really like.
so first of all, shout out to you again. You and we had another founder on here recently. To you all's transparency and honesty. I'm giving you a shout out to your transparency and honesty because you're like, no, I haven't really been in Bitcoin. I own Bitcoin. Like I like the DeFi. I like the yields. And then the amount you started with and the number you got from that, while it's still a crazy, of course, ROI, you didn't give us a crazy number. You didn't say, no, I got 3 million back from this or, 10 million. You're like, no, I started with $80. I got super lucky. I realized that I got 1,600 back. And I was like, this is the way forward for my life. I like that's a story I can get behind. I believe that's real. Usually you hear the crazy numbers, like as far as monetary gains, you just like, boy, so you was out the blue putting 100K and you didn't take over the market. You weren't the market maker that day. Like, what's going
Nah,
on? So
nah. I'm not that rich, not yet.
there we
But
go.
now my portfolio is a little bigger, but not nothing too impressive yet.
Also, what I also like here over at Gym the Crypto, I am, I lead the DeFi side. I love it. I love jumping into DeFi, the yields, the farms, trying to learn about all this stuff. So this is going to be really interesting. Shout out to Aaron and Michael Kennedy. Again, two of our crypto warriors already. They've been our warriors. Aaron said he's been a stakeholder of you all since the beginning. And Michael Kennedy said that Aaron's the one who told him about it as well. So all right, so yeah, we're gonna have a lot of questions, I'm sure, coming from them because they had questions earlier and us. But briefly, tell us what is Scarab.Finance? How did you all get started? When did you get started? And what are you doing now?
So, Scarab is an algorithmic seigniorage protocol. Um, the way it works is essentially there is something called the peg. The peg is our price relation of one Scarab to one Fantom. Um, the way it works is if Scarab is designed to be worth one Fantom and basically to be at 1.01 or slightly above and always fluctuate at around that value. It's the design of it. And the way it works is you will stake Scarab Fantom LPs on the sarcophagus, and they will print golden scarabs for you. And they will print it constantly. You can take a golden scarab and stake it in the temple, and there's a 32-hour lock period, 36-hour lock period, excuse me. But essentially, what it will do is every 6 hours, every epoch, it will print scarab for you, but only when you're above peg. And this is called the expansion period. When you're above peg, basically the market decides that there is enough liquidity to exist more scarab. So we are expanding our supply to make sure that the scarab is gonna be worth one Fantom. When we're below peg and the market decides that there should be less scarab in the market, we emit bonds, which is something that you trade in for scarab. You trade in your scarab for bonds, which removes scarab out of the supply of the market, making the price go up, and basically removes scarab out of circulation. This is essentially what the protocol is. Now, the problem with this is that that's all very pretty, and there's other protocols like this, but we really saw that, well, where's the money coming from? It needs to be coming from somewhere if I'm giving out rewards. And that means there needs to be generated value. I need to create value. And these protocols have been running without it. And it worries me what happens in the end. So we decided we would try a sustainable approach to this, which is use this protocol as bootstrap liquidity to then create a bunch of different features that actually generate revenue and that allow me to have a backing to my emissions, and that allow me to collateralize the Scarab token so that it is going to be actually one Fantom even when game theory fails. So the way we are doing this is, for example, we just launched our Sin Spirit model. It's a partnership with Spirit Swap. It's a big DEX on Fantom. We basically created a wrapped version of their token, and you come stake on your favorite LPs on our yield optimizer vaults. We are staking those LPs on Spirit. We are minting Sin Spirit and compounding into your LPs. We're taking Spirit off the back, staking it, and we get Spirit from those emissions and compound our interest. And basically what this allows us to do is create a revenue stream, maintain the emissions on our side for the yield optimizing vaults guys who are using them, because they're never at risk because they can use Bitcoin and Fantom. They don't have to hold any of our tokens, and they're still giving you a revenue stream, and we get performance fees from those vaults. We also launched a predictions game that allows you to wager on the price of Fantom either going up or down or staying neutral within set spaces of right now at 15 minutes. So essentially, we are trying to create a sustainable protocol that can, endure market instability and be actually robust. And
Is the prediction? Oh, pardon me. Is the predictions game? Is that like a play to earn game?
So sort of. You wager Fantom, and basically, if you're deciding if you're bearish, bullish, or neutral. And well, it's not live right now because we're redeploying a contract, but essentially every 5 minutes there's a prediction. And the way we coded it is, well, I don't want to be a casino and I don't like the model in casinos, so I never take money when you lose. What happens is you're playing against other people. So let's say you and three other guys you say neutral, one says bullish, one says bearish. If it goes neutral, you win money from both of them. We take a fee of every game. So basically that's how it works. If let's say two people stake, and let's say or you're playing alone, for example, even if you lose, you get your money back. I don't take any money unless you are going to win because you were playing against someone else. So that's how we coded it, just because we don't like the casino model. We find it dishonest, and I think we thought it would be a better way to do it.
No, I like this. From what I do like the fact that again, you admitted that of course if we just do this any regular old way, it will be just like every other model and protocol out there is being built. So I agree with you on that. I do like that you're trying to find these capital essentially incentives. So that's right. Like that's the product of some of these platforms. You're right. They were even some of the earlier ones that are working well. They may only be existing really because they're TVL at this point. Whereas it's like, yeah, you know what I mean? It's like they have their community built already. So that number they say is that number. But in times of volatility, it could not be. But I get what you're saying. It's like having a real underlying product to make sure that that number stays that number during times of volatility. So my question would be, as you're building out these games, which I think is a pretty good idea as well, what type of testing are you going to do on it? Because that seems to be the other flaw I've seen is that you create this amazing model, all this works. And as it begins to work, and you get that TVL up, the hackers are going to come too. So what are you doing to protect yourselves against that?
So for example, when we do any of these models, if we build out something from scratch, we have to have it audited. If it's not built from scratch, basically what we do is, let's say, for example, for our Sin Spirit model, there were other Wind Spirit models out there that have been double audited. And basically what we did is we take a piece of code from these guys that have what I need, change up a couple of variables, and basically squash pieces of people who have audited code that we can use. And basically we adapt things that way, and that it allows us to have a structure that we know is safe. Um, we do not publish contracts unless they are secure. So even if, let's say, if I want to launch a product before I can audit it, I will not have the contract published because I would have to be careful. That's how we've never done that. And to be honest, if we were forced to do it, is because we would have to be in a massive rush. But we've never done that yet. We also fire tested ourselves a lot. We usually try to get it reviewed by other prominent developers in the community, just so they can get their eyes on it and tell us what they think, and if they can find something. And we deploy them always on testnet. We have one of our guys, basically, he's our resident hacker per se. He's basically always trying to exploit our contracts, and basically usually we let him do that for a day or two, just try to find ways to go around it.
So just constant testing. It seems like constant stress testing.
Well, the most, because the biggest problem and the biggest worry for us is safety. Yield optimizer vaults have been exploited before. So for example, the yield optimizer vaults that we're using were forked from Reaper, which is one of the most trusted names on Fantom. And the reason we use their vaults is because, let's say, for example, Sin Spirit model is a mix of Liquid Driver and Reaper. So I can take pieces of code that I know are safe, and then use them combined, which allows me to create the product that I need, while at the same time not expose myself to risks if I don't have the time or funds to get it double audited as we would usually want. That said, we do have a CERTIC audit that we did, because when you do want to get audited, you want it to be for the best. And I have my a personal gripe with the auditing services on crypto. I find them, but the majority of them, to be not worth the price. They're not quality services, and if you don't go to the very best, it's just a piece of paper saying you're safe, because very often you're not. So we like Certic. We think they're trusted, and they're good. They offer good service. So we went to them because a lot of them are very. I don't like them very much, to be honest.
I can actually agree with that. And I'm having an issue with that with some things I've seen in the space as well, because for us, it just becomes just another layer of which it is necessary to have. But you're right, because it's like, all right, somebody tells me they get audit, they shows me the firm. whatever. I look at it and it could be like a group of 2 or 3 people. And I'm like, all right, now I got to really dig into each of those 2 or 3 people, how much experience do they really have or not have. And then if you find out they don't have that much experience, like, well, was it really audited it? And then, you're challenging someone else's professional ability. They'll come back, well, are you a security auditor? So it is, I definitely get what you're saying. And it is a slippery thing here because, again, I've seen projects we work with that I want to trust, but it's also like, I know they've been audited, but I never heard of that firm before. So I definitely get what you're saying. So let's see, what do we have going on? I wanted to ask about the roadmap. So again, for those who are listening, you can see here, Scarab.Finance is an algorithmic senior, I can't even say this word, senior edge token linked to Fantom. Their goal is to create more liquidity for the Fantom token. Why is this necessary? Because Fantom has liquidity issues. So question about this, first and foremost, what made you all choose Fantom out of everything out there?
Well, I see it as a network with a lot of potential. Everyone likes to ramble on about the TVL being larger than the market cap, and that we have, well, we did surpass AVAX for a short time. I'm not sure if we're still above them. I think we are. And it's got a bustling community. I've been on Fantom ever since I moved from Binance Smart Chain. I've been sticking around Fantom, and it's the only chain I'm on currently, even in my personal investments. Because I love the community. It's a lot of fun. DeFi here is very, very, very broad. There's projects popping up every day. The community is very active. So I just wanted to work in this space particularly because it's more fun, to be honest. The network is amazing. The community is amazing. There's a lot of room for growth. New projects are popping up every day, and you see a lot of projects that are very good. There's real potential to some of the things that are happening on Fantom, and I think we're really leading the charge in a lot of innovation happening right now. And I think if the situation remains this way, it's gonna be one of the top 10 coins after 2022 is over. And
Was that Fantom?
Fantom, I believe in it a lot. I'm a Fantom boy.
Yeah, there's definitely seemed to be a lot of excitement around it. Okay, so for the new people, for the new user or whatever, to Scarab.Finance, tell us, where do we start? How does this work? Like, what would you suggest? To take us through this.
Okay, so my first suggestion, and everyone says this, and it's a lot of pain, but it's always the best way to go about it. Read the docs. Always read the docs. It's better to read the docs. But so the strategy we advise for people who want to get in the Scarab ecosystem is to try a lower risk strategy. Scarab is designed to be at a price point of 1-to-1 Fantom. So even if it goes below peg or above peg, we're always keeping it, our goal and our treasury assets are used to maintain it above peg if ever something happens. So it's safe. It's a safer approach to focus on Scarab Fantom LP, and it helps us because it helps keep the peg. G Scarab is a lot more risky. Scarab Fantom LP is always returning G Scarab to you, but G Scarab, when you single stake it in a temple, even though it's single staking, and even though the APR is higher, it's a lot more risky because it can fluctuate a lot. It can have a lot of price fluctuations, and when we're below peg, it usually tends to fall. And when we are below peg, what the treasury does oftentimes is it sells G Scarab to buy Scarab. So we will dump the price of G Scarab to buy back Scarab if it's necessary to maintain the peg. So I would say a safer approach would be 80-20, 80 into Scarab Fantom LP, 20 into G Scarab. Now, there's also another way to help the protocol that is actually a lot more risk-free. If you already have your assets on Fantom, our Sin Spirit vaults in the sarcophagus um, are basically staking your assets on Spirit Swap, and we're currently boosting them right now. And essentially, you can be using your favorite LPs. You can be using Fantom USDC, Fantom Bitcoin, Fantom Ethereum, all of these LPs, Frax and MAI, Fantom and things like that, where, you can have assets that some of you probably already have and stake them in our vaults. We're boosting the APRs for a short time. We're going to have to shut that down in a little bit because, it's not sustainable. We're doing it as a gift to the community of sorts. But you can stake them in our vaults, and they're basically auto compounding for you, and they're staking assets on Spirit Swap and auto compounding them for you. It helps the protocol because it gives us a revenue stream, and it allows us to really compound our treasury, which in these types of protocols, it's very important to have a well-stocked treasury, and it's been our focus ever since we launched. It's been our obsession is to have a well-stocked treasury because it's really what helps you stay afloat when the market gets volatile.
So you already told us sarcophagus, that's going to be the farming protocol, correct?
Yeah.
What's temple and desert?
So the temple, you can single stake your G Scarab. That's where you single stake your G Scarab. The desert is essentially where you swap your Scarab for bonds, but you can only do that when we are under peg. So the reason you would do that is
I get it.
because
Yeah, you're trusting in it then from there. Go ahead. No, you explain it. I get it. That's amazing.
so the reason you would do that is you're removing Scarab out of circulation. And the way we incentivize you to do that is if you wait until we're above peg, you're gonna have a redemption bonus when you wait until 1.1 peg. So basically, we'll get more Scarab than what you put in. And it's a pretty hefty bonus. I think you get a 25% return if you buy at 0.95 and wait until 1.1. So
But of
bond your
course,
redemption.
and that's because you're paying people for taking that risk essentially as is.
Exactly.
Okay.
Because bonds are not tradable back into Scarab unless we are above peg. So it is a risk. If we let's say if we didn't never went above peg again, you would not be able to trade it in your bonds. So they are a risky move. And we try to warn people that they are a risky move because we don't want people who aren't informed on that to ape into bonds and be stuck with them. So we inform people that they are a risky move. But obviously,
For the people who believe in the projects long term, they say, okay. And I'm looking at the chat right now. It looks like a couple of people actually have done that before with you all. Yeah, Michael Kennedy said, I held the bonds for a while. Okay. Okay. That sounds good. What else? You said held it for a couple of months. There we go. I saw another good comment. What's going on, Lift Hunt Game? I like the idea of not over promising, at least the idea of not constantly giving rewards and drying up the treasury. There we go. I also like that, I do like that you just warn people of the risk of DeFi as well. So that's pretty cool. Speaking of which, so let's say everything works well for you all. Scarab.Finance, you're still building, you're growing. I mean, these are the growth pains, but finally you get that big stakeholder, you get more stakeholders, everything starts to go right. You're the hot kid on the DeFi block. Fantom has all the attraction going for it. You all are benefiting. Regulators come in. Like, what happens now? Like, how do you all navigate this and stay as decentralized as possible, at least with your applications?
Well, so this is something that we are actually worried about because we don't quite know what's gonna happen. We are actually starting to contact lawyers. Even for our personal lives, we want to know what happens in our country. Fortunately, in Portugal, things are still wildly unregulated, and that allows us to, we're not in the US where regulation is such a massive pressing concern because they're always on DeFi, and they're actually trying to regulate DeFi now. I think the SEC was trying to at least.
Yeah, they were
But
trying. I think it might be. Hopefully, it might be. I think NFTs are going to sidestep the attention at least for a few years. We'll see what actually happens, but we'll see. NFT, DeFi, as you know, as you're building, I'm sure you know, it's pretty tough. But I get what you're saying. Coming, I wasn't even thinking about that from a different country. Yeah, to get at least our government's attention, you need to at least like 20x right now, so you're still in good shape.
yeah,
And
yeah,
by that time you should have the legal team you need in the country backing to help you do what you do.
exactly.
Now, the only thing that may change, hopefully it doesn't, is that we may not be able to go in it as easily as we can right now. But that's, of course, if you know how to work DeFi, you know how to work it. So it's all good. That's not a big issue either. Okay, so cool. This is, I mean, again, it's pretty interesting stuff. Is I'm glad to see people have also been in the project or that I've seen on the channel for a long time. So roadmap, what's to come right now? I was looking at the roadmap. I did see Sin Spirit on there. I saw, of course, as you already mentioned, the what was the other one? The GameFi product. But that it looks like you're still working on the predictions market, excuse me. And Sin Spirit, when are those to come? And what can you
Oh,
tell me about
so
Sin Spirit as
so
well?
we gotta update our docs. Since Spirit launched, Since Spirit is what we launched in partnership with Spirit Swap. It's how we're using our vaults. Basically, we got a massive Inspirit position from our Inspirit from our Sin Spirit model, which allows us to get boosts on our vaults on Spirit Swap's boosted farms because they provide boosts to Inspirit holders. And basically, when you're staking in our vaults, that vault is a massive Inspirit holder, which means you get a 3x boost on the normal APR that you would get there. Um, and basically what's happening there is we are giving you Sin Spirit that gets compounded into LPs, and we take Spirit on the back end. The roadmap for now and the predictions game is live. It's just getting updated again. Just some bug fixes and all of that. Um, what we're doing now is we are starting to move towards our governance play. So our Sin Spirit model not only gave us access to a revenue stream, it gave us access to something that is very important and that is becoming more and more important on Fantom, which is governance. Governance being, several protocols are creating governance tokens, which basically give you voting power on their platforms. So they're allowing you to buy influence, and where the Sin Spirit model has already allowed us to acquire 1.2% of the voting weight on Spirit Swap, and we launched it like a week and a half ago. So we're continuing to expand on that because that influence and that power is very important, and it gives you a lot of advantages. And we're gonna start expanding that into other protocols. So I'm actually preparing something for a protocol that launched on Fantom called ProtoFi. There are other decks they're popping off. We're preparing a model for acquiring governance tokens from them. It's going to be essentially work a little bit like Sin Spirit, except we're not going to create a wrapped version of their token. And we're basically going to be creating vaults that have farms on the back end. You're farming as a service essentially for us. Not quite farming as a service, because you come to us, we stake your assets on their farm. We are breaking down we're giving you your returns into another token that we're going to be minting and providing liquidity for it. That token is just auxiliary, because what we need to do is basically you're only going to be staking them with vaults, so you're getting your compounded LPs. And the reason we do that is we keep the tokens that we're getting from those yields, and we're staking those assets as well, which is also giving us a return and allowing us to compound for more governance tokens.
Are you
Which
staking those
mean
assets on your own platform or on that?
No,
Or
on ProtoFi, on their platforms. So
right.
basically, we're compounding our assets into their farms. Why are we doing that? Because we want to reach a point where our compounded assets are at a level enough that I can use the revenue from those assets to pay out the rewards to the people that are staking on our vaults that are still getting the APR that they should be getting, fully through the revenue of assets that I got from them yielding. So initially, it's basically an investment from us. We are going to be paying and providing the liquidity for people to be minting tokens and trading them for LPs and getting them
Right.
that way.
You're rewarding the new users essentially who come on and by your own company essentially or by on their own protocol using it to compound on a different platform
Yeah,
for sure.
and basically what it allows me. So their vaults that they're using are being farmed on Spirit Swap or ProtoFi or whatever protocol that we make a model for. And the only interaction they have is with an auto compounder. It doesn't really matter what tokens they're getting in the backhand. The reason we do this is because it allows us to get more governance. It allows us to get more, assets for us, which if we can get to a point where I can pay the rewards straight out of the revenue that I had got from the assets that I acquired through them farming on me, then that means I can now farm with free liquidity. Now I'm getting free money
Right, but
essentially.
as the project builds, and you all have been around for how long now?
So we started December 20 something, like 20. We launched.
But in December of
Uh,
2021, correct?
yeah.
So
December of
you're all right. So
2021.
you're only a few months old. So right now, the short-term game plan is to reward essentially new users. Those rewards are going to come from auto compounding with essentially the protocols on value and capital that they get on another platform. That way, you can reward the bonus users or reward users with bonuses until those fees essentially can provide the liquidity. So you all don't even need to use that auto compounding. Correct?
Yeah, essentially, basically, you will stake your assets it's how we did it with Sinspira. You stake your assets in a yield optimizer. Basically, we're taking those assets, staking them on Spirit Swap, and we're minting Sin Spirit for you that's breaking into LPs, and you're getting more of your LPs. And we're taking the Spirit on the backhand, and basically we use all of that to allocate into our treasury emissions that is building up our treasury. We already acquired like $15,000 on the Sin Spirit LP farm where we're allocating those emissions in less than a week. um, it's
All
not
right.
much. It needs to get bigger, but it's also going to give us access to gauge emissions on Spirit, which should be able to get us another $1,500 to $1,200 a day from there.
So
So
I want to just take a step back because we're definitely getting into how the sausage is made. So I don't want to lose a few folks who just know the basics of DeFi as well. But no, again, I do appreciate you being this open. Crypto Bentley said transparency is why I chose Scarab. I definitely see that transparency as well. So did Scott Sterling say that. So my worry would be those third parties, but I mean that would be only for bonus optimizers. Sounds like. But also the good thing is, I'll also say, just like listening to you and from what I'm reading about your team, I can at least say, even if that third party you're using wasn't working, it sounds like you all are going to find a way to keep this thing rolling. So that's a good thing. PFC Wells, I was going on Trex. I'm late. So they said, so the whole thing the whole thing the coin is doing is just to keep the peg. Is that a manual thing or is that a smart contract function? Oh, it's okay. Is the coin keeping the peg a manual thing happening in a smart contract function?
so the currently it's not a smart contract function, and the reason for it is it's very difficult in a senior protocol. You have to be very, very careful. It's not always linear. So I can't code it because I can't just provide a specific set of conditions and be sure that it's not exploitable. Because there's a lot of ways of arbitraging against me as a treasury if my behavior is predictable. So it's very difficult to code that into a smart contract because it means that we could be exploited essentially by market manipulators. So it's manual because it takes it takes a very specific look, and it takes a human look, and it takes analyzing the market and understanding what is happening, because sometimes we should not be above the peg. It's not sustainable to always be above the peg. I cannot be always increasing my supply. So we try to let the market do its thing, but obviously it's very important to maintain the peg, and we can't just let it drop forever and drop to zero. So if it's necessary, we step in. But we try to let the market do its thing because I cannot constantly pump up the peg forever and expect it to last and to work, because it means I'm burning a bunch of treasury funds to continue expanding my supply, and the market is saying your supply should not be expanding. So
No, that's fair. I get what you're saying. Like, and okay, so as far as like cost benefit or risk analysis, yeah, it does for sure. It sounds like for people who like this project and want to be stakeholders, you're definitely believing in the team and what they're going to be able to do. Because I do get what you're saying, but you're right. If you were to try to codify it right now, like projects are learning the hard way. That's not the answer either. Like, clearly, is not the answer because they are getting exploited. It's not even like a if, they are. So I get what you're saying. So we'll see. All right, we'll see. Let's see what else we have going on. They just burned a bunch of the dev bonds too recently. There we go. Protofi. Okay, Aaron said he's on Protofi as well. All right. So what I have to ask. So you all had a quick launch or whatever. You launched this a few months ago. Uh, oh my goodness. I was looking at these the token prices. The what is this? The Scarab one didn't fall as hard as the G Scarab. Why did that one? I mean, any token when it first launched, I won't say any, many tokens drop when they first launched, but I saw this was at almost $8,000 or $9,000. So that was incredible to even get to that point off of launch. But can you tell me what happened in this area when you all initially launched?
so here's the thing. When Senior Rush protocols launch, what happens is usually everyone just apes into the high APRs because they have disgusting emissions at launch, like 80% daily, things like that. Um, which is all fun and games, but it means like a giant price variation. And for our first week and a little bit longer, um, basically there was a massive hype. Everyone is jumping in, and we grew really, really fast. Unfortunately, it was too much too quickly, and right at the time where we reached 22 million TVL and we were popping off, the market crashed, and we had expanded a lot in a very short period of time, which means we didn't have the time to compound our treasury to actually be able to hold anything, and we hadn't created these features that are now giving us value directly. So there were a couple of big sell-offs, and it started a bank run, and we went from like almost 2.5 over, we were 2.5 over peg to 0.6 in like 2 or 3 days. And then we got back to peg, then we got down. Our bottom was at 0.37, and it was actually pretty hard. We were struggling pretty bad. It's a very unhealthy place to be for a Senior Rush protocol to be at 0.37 peg. It was pretty devastating. And when Scarab gets hit, G Scarab gets hit the hardest. Like, it is very dangerous. That's why I say it's higher risk to be on G Scarab than it is on Scarab, because G Scarab price fluctuations are high. It can fluctuate massively because if Scarab is not a peg, G Scarab cannot be single staked in the temple for more Scarab, which means it loses one of its primary functions. So the buy pressure on it dies a lot if it's not if Scarab is below peg, which is what makes it a lot higher risk. It's also what makes it a lot higher reward because it has a huge APR, and even swing trading there's a lot of fluctuation, but it's very high risk. And G Scarab took a massive hit because we went from 2.5 peg to 0.37 in a short period of time. And yeah, now then we continued building because we didn't want to give up, and we had people who trusted in us in our community. So we kept building, kept working, launched our Sin Spirit model. It's been a great revenue stream for us. It's helped us, expand our treasury massively. It gave us a second wind. And now we're continuing to expand upon our presence in governance because we're seeing it as the way to go forward on Fantom.
All right. I mean, I definitely get what you're saying, especially if Fantom, like you said, if it takes off this year. and people start looking at the different dApps on there, the different protocols on there, I get what you're saying. It's worth to keep building your community and build your platform. So again, this is Scarab.Finance. For those who just started joining, who came in late, we are here with Bernardo, one of their co-founders and co-developers. And again, thank you for your time. What would you like people to know about Scarab.Finance?
Well, we have a different approach to seigniorage. We believe in sustainability. We want to create an ecosystem within ourselves that allows our users to basically use Scarab as a financially derivative asset. It's not everyone's here to make money, and everyone wants APRs. And while seigniorage is great because game theory and all that, and it can give you a degenerate return on investment really quickly, it means it's very risky because no one's trying to give any backing to that. We're trying to change that. We want to give a real backing to the emissions. We want to collateralize our Scarab token. We want to try a sustainable approach to this, and yeah, that's what we're building. The APRs are still pretty high, so it's still a good aping opportunity, I guess. But we're focusing on making it durable, and even throughout time. Actually, we've already scheduled it. We're basically going to start lowering the emissions over time, because even though we all love a 700% APR, it's not sustainable long term. And yeah, this is something that we're going to start moving towards as time goes on, because it's very cool to have a giant degenerate APR, but sometimes it's better to grow slowly and steady and safely more than it is to try to be a degen and hope for the best.
And somebody just tell me I could change the website theme, so I'm playing with that.
Yeah.
And for people who join, who hear all this, who may be interested in it, where should they start right now? Like, where would you? You're talking to our community. Where would you suggest? Like, hey, if this interests you, you guys want to start on a farm. You guys might want to provide liquidity or go to this swap. Like, what would you say folks should start at?
So you would need to go on Spirit Swap. Spirit Swap is a DEX on Fantom. You would my advice would be to trade Scarab for Fantom for Scarab, or whatever token you want for Scarab. Get Scarab Fantom LPs on Spirit Swap and stake them in the sarcophagus. My advice would be to use that because it is the lowest risk play. So if you're not very well informed on what Scarab.Finance is, it might be best to stick to Scarab Fantom LP at first until you figure out how everything works and get your footing, and do it that way, just because G-Scarab is higher risk. So if you're not very well informed on how everything works, I would advise you to stay on Scarab Fantom LP at first. Join our Discord. And we're always very active there, and our mods are amazing. They will help you out with whatever questions you have, and the community is awesome, so they will help you too. Yeah, actually, I think there's gonna be a movie night on our Discord
Hey,
tonight.
there we go. I hate to say this. I'm gonna have to sit. I'm gonna have to take the idea from you. That was amazing,
Yeah, but yeah, I would advise people to stay on the safer side, and after you figure you get your footing, you can farm your G-Scarab first, just so you don't have to take the high risk. And don't aim into something before figuring out what you're doing. And I would advise people to always read the docs. It's important to read the docs. It's very important to read the docs. Always read the docs, please.
There it is. Okay. And last question, but not least, I want to get this one from Nappy Waves going on. They just asked, what are you expecting to vote on with governance? Will the community have a vote on reducing APR?
So our vote for governance. I'm sorry, I cannot state this yet. It's still private.
Y'all
It's
still
gonna be
working
coming
on
out. Yeah, no, it's private. We already know what it is, and it's already figured out, but it's private. We still haven't announced exactly what the gauge vote is going to be. Um, but let's say we're going to have a vote, and we're going to be using our in spirit position to have a gauge vote on Spirit Swap. And that's all I can say. I cannot drop any more alphas.
There it is. There
It's
it is. Well,
it's
hey,
still in private.
Bernardo, I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate your transparency. Out of every founder out there, I will say so far, you may be one of the more transparent ones. So I will say that I definitely got to put a plus next to that, people, as far as what projects you may want to become a stakeholder in. I will say I know from a market and development side, you guys definitely will have a challenge. But yeah, if you keep building your community and you build up all these platforms to go with the prediction platform, you actually have the product. I get what you're saying as far as keeping things internal, and I see how it could work. So I'm definitely interested. I know I'm gonna keep hearing about it because our crypto warriors are already involved in the project. So we'll continue to watch out, and hopefully we can have you back soon once we have some more updates from you as well.
Yeah, that would be awesome, man. And thank you for having us. It's a pleasure to come here. A fan of the show, so uh, I was looking forward to this. I checked you out when people started hassling us all the time, telling us to come on here.
Hey, sounds good. Well, hey, make sure you all check out Scarab.Finance, SCARAB.Finance, and we'll also have that in the description as well. And we'll also add your Twitter and all that good stuff at the bottom as well to make sure folks can find you there. But as they're listening, where can they find you on Twitter?
At Scarab.Finance, and me. Let me check my phone. It's at the at DJN Pharaoh. I have a personal Twitter too, but Scarab.Finance's Twitter is at Scarab_finance. And if people want my personal Twitter, I guess I can do that. At ADGen Pharaoh is my Twitter handle.
All
And the
right.
real Pharaoh.
Well, sounds good. And of course, you can follow them on Scarab.Finance as well, folks. Make sure you smash that like and share, and do your own research, of course. You all do your deep dive in the comment section. Let us know what you think about Scarab.Finance as well, and some of the different and interesting parts of the protocol that you like. I will see you all later, possibly with some more crypto news, but if not, definitely tomorrow. Thanks again, Bernardo and Scarab.Finance for being here. Cheers.
Cheers, man. Thank you.